Hello, I am Claire Molinar and I am the co-founder of Unique Self-Emergence with Barbara Alexander. This is our day 2 of the 5 days challenge to learn to dismantle your false core pattern. And yesterday, I took you through a process that allowed you to identify a very old false conclusion that you drew about yourself probably in a very, very young age. And so the process allowed you to access an emotional, mental, bodily sense bundle of patterns, which we call false self pattern. It allowed you to access this flavor of your being, this contraction of your being, which we are learning to see in an objective way. Because what happens is that this false core sentence, which you identified yesterday or started to identify, is so ingrained in you that it had in us, right, in all of us, that it has tinted everything that we experience. It is the filter through which we experience the world. So by learning to identify it and cut it down into a mental, an emotional, and a bodily flavor, we are learning to see it. It is becoming object to us. So as long as we don't see it, the pattern has us. We don't have it. When we start to identify it, to recognize it, to observe it, then we start to have it. It becomes an object to us, and it's no longer, and that's the whole sense of this practice. It's no longer it no longer has the strong grip on our behaviors that it usually has. So that was, again, a recap of where we're at and what we're doing. And now I'm gonna teach you the first step of the practice. Now that you have your false core sentence or a sense, again, it doesn't have to be exactly precise. This is a process, it takes time. For some of you, it might have been very easy to find a sentence. For some of you, you're still working on it. Wherever you are in the process, you have a sense of the sentence and you have a sense of the emotional, the mental, and the bodily texture of that pattern. And so yesterday I asked you to recall a situation, a recent situation where you were triggered emotionally, and to go back into the earliest time that you could identify a similar trigger, a similar contraction. And now I'm going to ask you to go about your day today and to try and recognize a moment of trigger that might have the same elements in it or a different trigger, but a moment where you contract. So the definition of a contraction is that usually it doesn't feel good and you just don't feel open or expanded or flowing, right? You're not in your life force, but you're stuck. There's something that doesn't flow, right? So that's a contraction. And we all have contractions all day long, more or less important. So for the purpose of this exercise, because we don't have, thank God, strong contractions every day, you could just identify a small trigger or a bigger trigger. And what I want you to do in that moment of trigger is to remember the practice. So one, identify that there is a trigger. That's the first step. And then observe. First, go into your body. What is it that I'm feeling? So just use your breath. The breath is always your resource to come present to your body because it's always there. You're always breathing, so it's very convenient. And so use your breath, take a deep breath, and observe what's going on in my body right now. What am I feeling? For example, for me, often the contraction comes through my chest and I feel a contraction, a weight in my chest. So I notice that there is a weight in my chest. Okay, and what is the emotion that's associated with that? So I notice that there is anxiety, there's a sort of worry, a fidgetiness, something, yeah, an anxiety. So I breathe into it. I notice there is anxiety. And what do I want to do? Is there a desire to fight, to control, or maybe a desire to run away, to withdraw? Or maybe there is a disconnection, a freezing. Notice what is the tendency. Do you want to fight? Do you want to flight? Do you want to freeze? Fight, control, fight, run away, disconnect, freeze, withdraw. Notice what happens. And what is the story? What is the judgment that you tell yourself in that moment? What are the thoughts that are associated with that situation? So 3 things again. The bodily sensations, that's your bodily state, your somatic state. The emotional state. The mental state. You observe these 3 states, and now you name it in your mind. You name those states in your mind. And that's important to train your body, to train your mind, your awareness to be present to what's happening. We're taking it very, very slowly. We're making this very long, but you'll see that over time, this will be like, all of this will happen in one blink. So you see it, you see the 3 states, and now you name them in your mind. I notice that my body contracts, my chest becomes heavy. I'm feeling, or maybe my heart is beating, or something more, even more, there might be some tension, some heart fast beating. And I notice that I feel anxious and I want to run away. I just want to go away. Yeah, so that's an information. It's interesting. And what is it that I tell myself in that moment? If I run, if I go inside, I notice that there is a sense that I don't belong here. So I'm sharing something that's familiar to me, right? Often for me, there's a full score sentence that I don't belong. So I will go there by default. And again, this is why it's so interesting. This is happening so fast, and I have no way to know that this is happening if I don't do this exercise. So this is the exercise for today. It sounds simple. Try and catch yourself in the moment. If you can't catch yourself in the moment, don't despair. It happens all the time. Do it retrospectively. At the end of the day today, if you didn't catch anything, try and remember a moment when you contracted. I'm sure you'll find one, And if you can't remember anything, if your day was awesome and nothing happened, then maybe yesterday or the day before. A small contraction or a big trigger, whatever the trigger, go through that process. What did my body feel? What was the emotion? What were the thoughts? And name them and write them down. Writing is a very important part of this process. It helps us anchor the awareness, anchor the insights that we're gaining on ourselves. When we write, it has been proven that our brain integrates faster the experience and learns from it. We learn from the experience much more completely when we write it. So this is it for today. And please write down on the discussion page, write down your experience, your questions. You may have some questions. I'm here, Barbara is here to respond to you. We are very happy that you're in this with us, and we can't wait to hear from your experience. Bye, see you tomorrow.